what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Church Creatives Podcast. We got some heavy hitters on the episode this week. Really looking forward to this. I've been wanting to do this for a while with you guys. Today we're going to be talking about content creation, but on a large scale. I know most everybody listening to this podcast, you probably volunteer at your church, work at your church. You're probably used to doing either photography, design, you're creating content every week. But this is something a little bit different. I'm going to talk with some of the guys on the team from North American Youth Congress. And for those of you that don't know what that is, I would encourage you, pause right now and go Google it. It's like a 3-day, 30,000 people show up church event. It is pretty much something going on all the time. Like there's late night stuff, early morning stuff, split session services. And so I wanted to talk with these guys about how do you do content creation? How do you manage everything? How do you do stuff on such a large scale versus like a Sunday church service? So before we get to that, I'm just going to let everybody go around, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do, and also if you want to plug your business or your creative work and your church.
How do I start?
Somebody go first.
Oh, I'm the last one on my screen. I'm Skylar Hunt. I do a little bit of everything. I do videography, I do photography, and I do a lot of graphic design. That's a lot more of my day-to-day stuff. But I was on the video team at NAYC, so when it comes to events, I do a lot of the video coverage type stuff. And then when I'm at home and I'm not doing anything, it's usually design. So it's actually my full-time job. I just do it every day. It's just not the video stuff every day.
Cool. My name is Martin Libby. I've been doing creative media probably since I was 16, but I've been doing church creative media. I'm 26 now. I've been doing church creative media, I would say the freshman year that I was at Urshan College back in 2017. That's where I kind of got my start within the church creative field. Predominantly photography, videography. I would say now more so videography. I dabble in graphics, but I don't really do it. So I give it all over to Skylar and I let him do all my graphics for me. But yeah, for the NAYC team, I was over video stuff, doing reels and worship reels, preaching reels. And, that's kind of what I do mostly at conferences whenever I'm traveling around doing conferences. I'm also the owner of Unveil Your Story. I don't know if this is the time to plug that, but I guess you said plug your business. So I'm the owner of Unveil Your Story. And
go right ahead and plug it.
That's actually these two guys, they work with me and we do a lot of projects together. And we'll probably talk more about that later.
Man, awesome. I'm super excited to be here, excited to be with Martin and Skylar. I know we work extensively, and it's, obviously on the NYC video team and even other kind of projects that we work together. So this is really exciting for me. So my name is Landon Gaddy. I started in videography probably 5 years ago. Me and Martin actually kind of have overlapping stories a little bit as far as how we got into videography, how we started. Maybe we'll talk more about that. But I started videography. I haven't deviated much from that. I feel lucky that one of the first things I found in the creative space was something I just love so much, and I've just poured 5 years into. I do have an emphasis on editing. That's kind of professionally where I try to land, and most of the jobs I'm doing these days are editing jobs. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm in the videography space.
Awesome. All right, so we'll jump right into this topic, but I want to start, and you guys can just jump in whatever you want to. But how do you approach this before the event? Because I know, like, you take like a church service on Sunday. Like our church is a fairly small church, so we gotta have a service order. I know if somebody's gonna be singing a solo, we need to get video or photos of that. If we got a baby dedication. It's pretty easy to plan out a Sunday service at a church, especially a smaller church. But when you're leading up to an event like NAYC, how do you break down, like, what do we need to cover? Because there's literally something going on, like, all the time.
Yeah, I think actually, and I'll say this, maybe these guys were going to say it also, and I'm sure they were, but while we were 3 guys on the team, there were 2 other guys that were also on the team, John Shellhart and Braxton Powell. And I got to give a lot of credit to Braxton Powell. He actually was the team lead for NAYC. And so pre-production wise, he kind of headed up a lot of the pre-pro on the video side for NAYC. So all that content creation, all of those ideas, everything was kind of headed by Braxton. And so I'll just give my perspective working with him and, you know, his process whenever he first started, because we were right there at the very, very beginning of when everything started, you know, getting fleshed out. Normally it all starts off with a phone call of like, hey, we're putting together a team for this large event. I need to, I've already spoke to your pastor. Your pastor's already approved you. How do you feel about being a part of the video team for NAYC? And of course we all go, well, you know, we'll think about it. You know, just want to, you know, pray about it. And I think I probably just said yes. And so, you know, then from there, we'll get on Zoom calls and we'll work out the pre-production for that, which is, let's just dream. Let's talk about ideas. This is the theme for the event. This is the kind of the rough schedule. And usually this will be, you know, we're hoping that this is a normality, but, you know, potentially, you know, 9 months to 12 months out, you're learning that this is going to happen. I'm not sure if that was the case for us. I don't remember exactly when we heard about, you know, us being on the NAYC team, but, you know, normally you want it to be far enough out where you guys can plan accordingly. You guys can plan your travel, you can plan all your content, and then you can start doing pre-content. But you also want to give the core team, the one that's actually planning NAYC, enough time to schedule everything out. So we'll have that schedule in hand. We'll go through the days. And then we all came up with a group chat where we all just kind of came up with content. We would send reels that we found online. Skylar, man, and he could talk about this, but that dude's a beast when it comes to like the real trendy, quick cuts, lots of like, you know, After Effects, Photoshop type of stuff being implemented into videos. He's very, very good with that stuff. So he was sending a lot of those style of reels, which is content I don't even touch. So I was like, man, Skylar, you got it. You got that stuff. So that's kind of the flow when it comes to pre-production, is just a lot of planning prior to us getting to the event.
Yeah, and on that note, with the planning, a big part of it was like, we didn't just want to see the schedule and be like, okay, we have this, and this, and then just get ideas of how we're going to cover each thing. We also, a thing we talked about a ton. So the theme of NAYC this year was glory, and we really wanted to make sure that the content we captured emphasized that. So we didn't really just want to, you know, have something to show what's happened and then, you know, have something of late night, have something of every single thing. So we more leaned into, and then this is straight from the DJ. He was the promotions director at the time. He's now our youth president, but it was capturing glory. That's just the words that we use, and that was our kind of our goal. So we all kind of honed into making sure that, you know, everything that we're doing when we're going to capture something, whether it's a song, it's a moment, that's what we were focused on capturing, and that's what we wanted to focus on conveying through the social medias. So like I said, a big part of the planning and that pre-production side was deciding, what do you want to accomplish on the social media side of capturing this conference. Sometimes it might just be you just want to put out what's happening and that's it. But on something as big as NAYC, we wanted to make sure that what we were putting out, and we knew how many people we would reach. So it's very important to make sure that you have an idea. What's your goal with what you're capturing? What's your goal of what you're putting out with your preaching reels? What's the goal of the worship moment that you just capture? What's your goal of putting that out? What do you want to happen? So just having those thoughts and just making sure all that's a part of your process of planning before a big conference or event.
I also think that, and before Landon comes in, because I want to set him up for this, we all have strengths and we all have things that we're very good at individually. Now, why we can all do whatever. I mean, you toss Landon on doing worship reels, it might not be his favorite thing to do, but he'll knock it out because he's talented. You put Skylar on like, hey, you're just going to capture preaching. Skylar can do it. It may not be his favorite thing to do, but he can knock it out. But we all had individual strengths coming into NAYC. And so Braxton did an incredible job of looking at us and seeing the content that we put out, checking out like, okay, what is something they really enjoy doing? Now let me put them over that when it comes to the content creation for NAYC. That way there's no overlap and we're not stepping on each other's feet and we're not trying to, all capture the same thing. So individually, we each had our own roles and responsibilities going into NAYC.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys kind of both touched on things I want to talk about. First of all, I love that we started the very first phone call. We started with the question, what are we really trying to do? What are we really trying to do here? It wasn't like, we want this aesthetic, we want to do these kind of ideas, and we had those conversations later. But the very beginning was, what are we trying to do? and DJ conveyed this to us. It was cool. Like the first thing he talked about was kind of our philosophy behind this. Not exactly. No, you didn't start with the schedule. It didn't start with here's the theme or the look of things, but conveying just his heart and the heart of youth ministries for this event, for glory and capturing glory is really what we're trying to do. And so from there, like Skylar said, that kind of stemmed everything we did was within supporting the mission. And so, we had those ideas, different things we wanted to do. Kind of what Martin was alluding to, different strengths in the team. This is the first event where it's like a recap style. So we're making for social media that we had such a large team. I think it was it 6? I mean, Madison, so that's 6 of us, right?
Yeah.
6.
Yeah,
right.
So there was the 3 of us, and then there was 3 other people,
I
and
forgot
everyone
to say
had a
Madison
totally different
Anderson,
role.
and I am so sorry. I need to shout out.
We would not have been able to do it
Madison
without her
She's the
either.
goat.
'Cause, Madison was out there capturing preaching reels while we all were in there cranking out edits so that we could
I wanna
have
make
as
sure
much
I
stuff on
plug her.
social media as possible. It's like everyone that was at least there knows how many things we put out and how quickly they got put out. That would not have been possible without Madison because she had us covered during preaching.
Yeah,
she was awesome.
Getting our
But
editing
it was so cool to have a team that's large enough to where it's not like one person or 2 people trying to cover all these different types of videos. Social media nowadays there's so many different types of videos. You get these quick edits. You can get out preaching reels, worship reels. It's too much for one person or even 2 or 3 people. And so having a team of 6 people really got to lay into our strengths. And so it was fun because I'm definitely not the person that's like those really quick, flashy edits. I leave that to Skylar. He kills it all the time. But where I feel my strength is just like these really nice artistic shots, things that sometimes, cinematography.
Movies. Landon makes movies.
And so at Braxton, it was so cool to let me step into a role where I literally just took out a tripod and a camera, and during worship I got like 12 shots, which is like if you ever made a recap video, you
was
know
amazing, though.
that's not enough shots.
It was crucial.
But because we're all working together, we're getting to do like more niche things and really getting to step out and solidify kind of new things. And so kind of bringing it back to this idea of capturing glory in my mind when I was setting up these shots. I remember my first NAYC walking in and just like being in awe. And back then it was even smaller, not that it's all about numbers, but I was just in awe of like being around so many people and just this arena full of like-minded young people that I didn't even know existed. And so I was trying to convey that moment in what I was doing with these locked off shots. Because, as we perceive things in the world, usually it's not with like big motion, things like that, but it's just like a locked off, like wide shot, looking at everything around. And so really I was trying to convey that, and we couldn't do that if it was just 1 or 2 people. So we had this big team, and I was able to really take time in these small shots and capture glory. It all goes back to what we were trying to do. We're trying to capture glory. And so I don't know if you guys want to talk to that, but I'll let you go ahead.
I mean, I feel like I feel like we've said exactly what it was. I do think that there is something to be said about walking into that environment and it's overwhelming. And that was like one of my first thoughts was like, I've been to NAYC before, but this was my first time serving on the media team. I'd done general conference, but it's not nearly the scale that NAYC is. We're talking over 30,000 young people in a stadium. And so you go to stadiums normally for other things, but here we are, gathering in a stadium for church. And so I walk in and immediately the environment feels so much different than it would had it been some secular event. So you already feel the difference in the stadium. And then you look around and it's like massive. And I'll be honest, like walking in there, I was like, I don't even really know how I'm going to capture this. This is like, especially when it filled up with people. So I'm like walking around, capturing as much B-roll as I can, getting stuff. And I was already assigned with capturing stuff separate from the event. I was getting stuff for YM for like future promotion stuff. And I was walking around thinking, dude, how do I capture what I'm trying to capture right now, which I think is trying to capture glory, because you can't really put glory in a bottle and sell it. It really is all about how can we best capture glory. There really is no there's no quantifiable way to be able to set your camera up and capture what was actually happening there. You have to be there to experience it, and I think that the team did an incredible job of capturing what we could physically capture in such a spiritually charged atmosphere.
I would say from the point of view of somebody who had to stay home for this one, I really hated I had to miss this one. Dude, y'all did such an awesome job of capturing it, because it was almost like stuff was being posted in real time. And that's what I liked, is like the people, like,
it was.
It doesn't compare to actually being there, but at the same time, I was like, I don't feel like I'm missing out completely, because I feel like I'm there because I'm getting to experience the worship, the preaching, like, you can,
that's awesome.
Somebody at my church, they said it's like you could almost feel the spirit in the videos that was there, like, and to me that's what it's all about. And so that kind of sets up the next thing I was going to ask you guys about. You talked about sort of being overwhelmed. Like, you walk into a church service on Sunday, you have a pretty good idea of what you're trying to capture. There's only so many things that are going to happen, but what are you looking for that, like, rather than just, I'm going to take a picture of somebody praying, or I'm going to take a picture of somebody on the worship team, like, what special things are you looking for in an event that large that really stands out?
Practically speaking, I apply probably the same exact formula that I applied to NAYC to any event that I cover. And that is, like, very, very practically speaking. I get the set list for worship. I get the set list from the worship leader, and I have all the solos already set out. So I had my phone with me. I had, like, the notes app opened up to whatever, that they had sent me. And so I have all the songs, and I have the soloists. I know the songs either because I've listened to them beforehand or because I just know them. And so generally speaking, I have some idea of what part of the song is probably going to hit the most. And so I record the entire song. Myself, we had John Shellhart and Madison Anderson all up in the front. I was over the Reels team for worship. So the kind of the formula that we had was, I'm standing on this side, John's covering band, Madison standing over here. And the way we played it out is, okay, Madison, this is who's soloing on this song. I want you to focus on the soloist. I'm going to focus on all the singers and the crowd. John, you're going to float around all the musicians. At a team of that size, you're able to be more flexible with stuff like that. Now, if it was just me doing that by myself, it'd be a completely different formula, which I've done that before, where I'm like, okay, I've got to focus on the soloist, and if I can get away from that, then I will. And I'm pretty casual when it comes to service capture. I'm not like super staunch about rules or anything. I just try to capture what's interesting. But formulaically, I look at how's the song going, what's going to be the part that everybody's going to be, most amped about, and let me make sure that I hone in on that. Usually it's the bridge of a song. Usually it's going to be the high part of the song. And so when that time comes, we make sure that we're on top of it. Soloist is going off. I've got my angle over here for the soloist. I'm capturing the crowd, getting what they're doing, getting that energy. They're all worshiping. Maybe they're crying. Maybe they're dancing, whatever it might be. And then John's over there at the band, and he's capturing all the, the guitar player, the piano player, the drummers going nuts. And so we're making sure we have all of that. Then, again, practically speaking, we gather all that footage. We have a Zoom H6 over by the audio, recording a mono channel right to the left. We get that. We bring that into the back. We have our audio. We have our footage. We put it all together, and then we start cutting up reels. Yeah. And that's why it's all real time, because we're able to have that flexibility because we're prepared in service.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to add on what Martin's talking about, a little less on the practical side, and me and Martin both use this word all the time when we're covering an event, is moments. So it's a little bit of a broad thing to say, but as we're doing exactly what Martin said, like, we know what we're going to do before service, but while we're doing all this, we are always, like, aware of our environment, and we're looking for special moments. So that can be anything from someone right in the altar is just sitting there crying, like you can see the song touching them, capturing that, or on the stage, sometimes, maybe the song is moving to a certain person on the worship team. There's a moment where you can feel that one of the band members is worshiping through what they're playing even more, like just being aware of moments of people getting something out of the service more than usual. and capturing that is really what helps translate just the atmosphere and what you truly feel there. So that's just like I said, it's not as practical, but just being aware of looking for moments constantly. You kind of always have to be looking at people, and it's a hard thing. You just get used to that, and you get better at that over time. But that's just one thing I really want to say is just think about that word, what it means, and just be
and I
looking
can
for
kind of
those
speak
moments.
from my perspective as well. One thing that I really tried to do was really lean into the strengths of the event, which is one of them, the main one being that it's just a massive event. There's so many people, and it's like I can't even capture all these people in one frame. So from a practical point of view, I was a lot wider than I ever would have shot in normal service. You know, I'm from a small church as well, and I know what it means. It's like I got to zoom in a little bit. There's some empty seats right there.
Right.
It's like I don't want to. There's some things I don't want to show. Right. So sometimes there's some stuff you want to show, sometimes there's stuff you don't want to show. But with NAYC, it's like it's filled to the brim. There's so many people, and so I want to be able to capture that and convey that just how massive an event this is.
Yeah, I think to your point with like the size of the event and also doing things that are different from other conferences or even just a church service, is it did give you that flexibility. Like I think I shot on a 16. I shot at 16 or 24 for the entire event. Like I didn't really go, too much deeper with my focal length. I was pretty wide the entire time. Like mind you, I'm right up at the platform, but I was also thinking like an event like this, people are very interested in everything that's happening. And so I'm not super worried about if I'm filming and I get a little bit of the sound system in it, or I'm filming and I get a little bit of like we had scooters that were just leaning up against the railings because people were riding these scooters around. And I wasn't super concerned about getting those in my shot. Whereas I feel like if you're too focused on trying to keep things super clean and super corporate, that you miss out on what social media is all about, which is authenticity. And so that environment allows you to just be as authentic as possible because people are really interested in seeing that. And then at that scale, it brings it down to a level that's real. And it doesn't feel like too big for me to enjoy it, too big for me to be a part of it. It's like, oh, wow, I'm right there in the pit, in the media pit with all the other guys. Like, I feel like I'm a part of this.
No, that's awesome. What's other thing I want to talk about too, y'all touched on a little bit. What is some of the equipment you use in an event like this? I'm always super interested in behind the scenes thing because you're capturing so much stuff. Is everybody just using external drives? Are you backing up to a server? Like what's kind of walk me through some of the workflow on the behind the scenes part of it?
You want to know what we did for this event or what we should do?
Yeah,
I guess a little bit of both.
There's two different questions there.
Yeah.
What did we do?
It was a little crazy, so we didn't do it the normal process. But there is a process that you should do.
Landon said, "What did we do?" And I think that's really true. I think we kind of showed up, and then it was just like, "Hey guys, yeah." So I think there was this understanding of like, you guys do this for a living. Like most of you are doing this for a living, so like you all pretty much know how to do it, and then we all like have the equipment. I think we all have hard drives. We all have things that we use on a day-to-day basis. So I think kind of coming into it, our team lead probably wasn't more so thinking about the administrative side and was more so probably thinking on the creative end. So just full transparency, kind of how we did it was we all came in, we used our own drives and we offloaded everything. I have a file named NAYC 23 and I dropped all of my stuff into that. I put everything onto my own timeline. I had John's footage, I had Madison's footage. And then I just edited from there. And then when I was done, we would airdrop it over to the social media lead. And he was the one sending everything out. Now, at the very end of the event, we did bring all of our stuff onto one large G drive. I think it was like 15 terabytes, 16 terabytes, whatever it was that Braxton had. But we dropped all of our footage onto that one large drive. That way headquarters could then have all of that footage later. But I don't know if that's what we should have done, but it did work. It did work.
Yeah, always use a hard drive though, no matter what. Even if like we didn't do it in like the most safe and like efficient way, in terms of waiting till the very last day to like all of us put them on one drive, but at least after every service, don't leave everything on your SD card. Take it off, go and just move it on a SSD or a hard drive and just have it there sitting because stuff happens. So please do something. Don't just leave it there. And do you want like gear breakdowns of what we use too? Is this the time to talk about that?
I mean, yeah, you can talk about that some, because I know a lot of people, looking on the outside looking in, they're thinking, man, an event like that, like I've got to have the best gear. I'm got to probably rent stuff. Like, what were you guys using to capture video?
Man, that's a good question. I was using an Arri Alexa for all of the reels.
Yeah.
Mini,
$100,000 Hollywood camera each. We all had our own.
No.
Wait,
actually,
can
you
I
were
grab
about to
my
say
camera?
something. I wanted to hear what you were going to say.
One of y'all had like a handy cam or something. Yeah, that's what it is. I remember seeing that on
This was the
the
main camera.
Showing
We
you.
I
filmed
brought
on.
my other camera.
Yeah. See,
So
you don't
if you
have to have
understand
something
NAYC,
crazy, guys. You really don't.
You have to have a JVC camera
all
from
you need.
2008. That's
Nice.
the way to get on. But no, for real, we did shoot a lot of stuff on this. If you go look at the recaps.
We did, yeah. And everyone saw those, and people loved it.
There was one recap that went up of the morning session that was like super dope. And you actually
NBA
what did
Jam
you-
video?
Oh, what was the video game audio that you used?
Yeah.
The NBA Jam.
Filmed all the way on it.
That was the NBA Jam one on there. That was awesome. That is where like Landon says that he doesn't do I guess it's not like crazy fast or anything, but that was like super creative.
Yeah, Landon does social
I do.
stuff.
Well, you
He's all
have to
about the
lean into. I mean,
movies.
you have to realize this is a youth event, so it's like, maybe if we're shooting, I don't know, some old person's conference, we can use a camcorder. But
I get it.
This is a. Sorry, didn't mean to.
Elders Conference 2023.
Yeah, Silver Eagles.
Yeah.
But you have to lean into it.
Yeah, and on the old stuff, not everything I did not use a single autofocus anything good lens. I used 2 lenses the entire event, and they were both $25 vintage lenses.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah.
And
probably one of them.
I would
right
never
there,
have done
is it?
that if I was the only one covering it. But like Landon was saying earlier, we all
Nice.
kind of got to. Yeah, exactly. Like I can show you. I have the film camera behind me, and it was the main one I was using. And we were able to. I was able to lean into that different look because
That's what I got.
we had Martin was out there with his wide angle autofocus. We were.
I saw you pick those up recently, or not recently, but I saw you post about it.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah. So I did it on some vintage lenses and my Sony A7 IV, and then that was it. It's nothing. It wasn't anything too crazy for me. And then we had a gimbal, but we only used the gimbal on the. There was no gimbals on any of the vertical stuff, only on the full day recaps.
I think it's awesome y'all use such a wide range of stuff. It wasn't like, okay, everybody has to go out and rent $100,000 camera so everything
No
matches. Y'all
way.
use quite a variety of things.
Yeah, we all just brought our own gear, and again, like what Martin was saying earlier, like Braxton kind of let us all. He gave us a role, and we all were able to lean into that. So we all just brought the gear appropriate for what we were doing, and everyone's was different and different price ranges. So they're all good full frame 4K cameras, but
I think
that
it's
was really the
important
only
though for
requirement.
anyone who's listening that doesn't necessarily. You're probably like maybe you don't know half of what we're talking about, but there is like some limitations, especially whenever you start mixing different brands of cameras, and the biggest limitation is color. And so Sony shoots very different from Canon. I shoot strictly Canon. A lot of the guys were shooting Sony, and so one thing that we really had to wrestle with was color matching on these reels. So I'm getting John and Madison. Madison is shooting on a Fujifilm. John's shooting on a Sony. I'm shooting on a Canon, and I have to make these shots all look like Canon because that's what I edit. So I'm not going to make them look like anything else. And so I'm in my program, editing all these colors. And so that was one difficult thing that we did face. That if we had all had like the same ecosystem, it would have made things a little bit more smooth. Probably would have made the grading a lot more smooth. Maybe we could have got stuff out faster, and maybe that'd be ridiculous if we got it out faster.
Right.
Maybe because you're already it felt like real time. So maybe we don't need to do that. But that would be one limitation that we might have faced. But then it's easy because everybody's using gear that they understand and they know. And Landon actually didn't use anything that's like ours. Landon used a completely different camera.
I was on a Black Magic, and then I think what did Braxton had a Fuji, and so he had to match those two cameras, and he did it super well. And thankfully, those cameras aren't like a Canon Sony is a pretty big difference. But I think Black Magic Fuji a little easier to color match there. But yeah, I think it all looks well. And the thing too, it's like we're shooting in the same building in the same space for three straight days. So once we get it locked down night one, if we do get locked down night one, we can go the entire event, create a LUT, and then we're fine. We have everything color matched. So it's not like so it's like every night we're having to adjust. It gets easier.
That's exactly what we did. So after, That is one thing on the LUT. We all had the exact same finishing LUT over our color grades, just for some consistency, so that the color tones and hues were all the same. Braxton gave us one LUT, and we all use that as a finishing.
Also,
LUT
another nerdy point: we all shot same white balance, and that's something that not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes, that is crucial for color matching. Yeah, for sure. Also, don't shoot white. If you're listening to this, do not shoot auto white balance ever. It takes 5 seconds. Please just go into your sanctuary and do custom white balance, and then your editing afterwards will be so much
Maybe
easier.
we'll put out a video on how to do that.
Yeah. Check out Unveil, and we'll put out a video on how to change your white balance and what it should be.
Yeah, that's something I've been, the volunteers at my church, that's something I've been working with them. I bought the little white balance cards, and I'm like, go stand on the stage and set the white balance. Like, on the photography, they all shoot raw so they can change the white balance, but on video, it's very unforgiving. So, yeah, very good stuff. So, yeah, that's very interesting, and maybe that helps some people that are looking at, working on teams at large events, help them out that, you can use the equipment you've got. You don't have to go out and have, the top end equipment to be able to do what you guys did. I think it's more just being familiar with your equipment.
That would be the big thing. If you know your stuff, if you're familiar with what you're using, then an event should be a piece of cake. It shouldn't even be a challenge for you. And then you can, like Skylar was saying earlier, you can keep your head on a swivel, and you can be looking for the moments because you're not worried and concerned about your gear. If your gear is getting in the way of you doing church content, then your gear is wrong, and you need to focus more on trying to figure out your equipment. Your equipment should never get in the way of a move of God. In fact, your equipment should be serving the move of God, and not the other way around. Stuff.
Yeah, I think something we've all kind of realized as we've gone through cycles of gear is just as minimal as we can go is probably what we want to do. If you're you have 6 prime lenses and you're constantly have to run back, adjust it because you're it's the best quality. Sometimes it's better just to go minimal and to be more efficient rather than just getting that extra 2% of a better image.
That no one's going to notice because it's only us that really
That's
notice.
Something too, creating for social media. You want it to look as best as possible. You want to put your best foot forward, but you can't stress about it so much. You can't try to be a perfectionist. Even I think there's one video we posted that the grade just stopped 3/4 of the way through the video, and it's still up.
Wait,
I think
really?
so.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it was. The grade changed for a couple seconds. There was some adjustment layer that got left on top, and someone.
Wait,
I don't know who did it. I forgot. It wasn't me.
Okay, but I say mistakes do happen.
But mistakes do happen though. You can only be so much of a perfectionist with social media.
It goes to show it's social media can't be taken so seriously that you handicap yourself and you never really put out anything, or you just put out a minimal amount. Really, what we wanted to do is put out a lot of content. We wanted to it's such a big event. We wanted to put out so much content.
That was the goal.
And we did that.
Yeah. And there's a fine balance between quality and quantity, and I think we leaned in pretty well to that balance. So we would maybe not be. I'd say a lot of the videos that I posted, I finished my edits personally. I wasn't 110% happy. I could have spent another 30 minutes to an hour, but that's not. It was quantity. It was just getting stuff out. So you had to find that balance. And I would say even down to your local church, if it means maybe pulling back a little bit and spending a little bit less time on your edits, if you can get a couple more reels out, that's going to be better for your social media than you spending another hour on trying to figure out how to make your color grade look.
I was just going to say real quick on the color grade, just wait till Elevation starts releasing ungraded videos, and then everybody's going to be like, that's so trendy.
Maverick City did that.
Yeah.
That's going to be the thing again.
Yeah.
They did. They not even just your normal color profile. They were shooting log.
That didn't look good.
Log ungraded and posting it, that's a crazy.
No, I didn't mind it because I felt like it was also just I felt like they were also just trying to get content up. So they were like, "Hey man, just post this." But who knows? It might have been a thing they were trying to lean into. I now forgot what I was going to talk about, but that's all good. I don't remember. That got me.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yes, I do remember. Yeah, it was about the quantity of content, and I think that sometimes I think we might be moving out of this a little bit. I had actually somebody tell me recently And I don't say this in any way except for this is literally what they said. And I just thought it was funny. They're like, Martin, you're kind of ruining it for guys that do conferences, because now people are asking us to come out with the expectation that they're going to get 9 reels per service. And I laughed because I'm like, well, okay. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not trying to create any standard. And but I do feel like in this new climate of social media, quantity is important. And, you know, we can stress like it's got to be the best quality, but the reality is authenticity over everything. And if my authentic content is authentic, and it's not just me just pumping out random stuff, but I'm being authentic with the content I'm creating, I can pump out as much as I want. Yeah. And the goal is not for the people at the event. The goal is for people like you who weren't at NAYC. And you were like, yeah, I felt like I was there because every time I opened up my phone, there was a new video. And I know I didn't have to be there. I was already there with the content that was being pumped out. So you didn't feel like you were left out of anything, which I think should be the goal for everybody going into an event and creating content for that event.
Not true. And I'm more on the graphic side than you guys. Y'all do a lot more photo and video stuff than I do. But I know even in my own church, that's something that I have stressed is that, like, I mean, we're making social media graphics. If I'm spending 3 hours to create a graphic that's literally just advertising a men's get together, like that's wasting my time. You can make something good. And it reminded me because I was at General Conference this year, and I was talking to Ryan Johns behind the scenes. He was talking about all the graphics he had to make on the fly, even some sermon slides he had to make them on the fly. And he was like, you just got to make something that looks good, but you got to understand it's more important to get it out on time than it is for it to just be like the greatest graphic you've ever seen.
That's so true, actually. That's very true. And I think it's really hard for creatives to be okay with that, because it's what we do. It's like our identity. It's really hard. And so we're like, man, like, you know, people are going to talk about this. They're going to, you know, get in group chats and talk about it. And it's like, well, that's just not really true. And if they do, it's just all people like us. And who cares? Who cares about our opinion?
Exactly. And we all understand.
Audience.
Yeah, our opinion doesn't matter. Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up, one quick other thing I want to say. What would you say to somebody listening to this? They're like, you know, eventually I would like to work myself onto a team of an event like that. What are some things people should be doing to work towards that?
I've gone first every time. I'm gonna let y'all do it.
Yeah, just go. Okay, I'll go ahead. So I'll say when Braxton called me and asked me to be on the team, when I tell you is the last thing I ever would have expected to be asked to do. It is. So, like, and you can say this with any ministry you're involved in, and I know, like, we're talking about, like, a skill set, but it is a ministry regardless. So the same as it would be of, I want to sing at NAYC one day, I want to play an instrument at NAYC one day. You have the same thing. So don't get caught up too much in, like, what you want, like, getting to this point, as much as... Okay, something just fell in my room. As much as just doing your absolute best. So I think that's how all of us got to the point, was just like we were doing it for the kingdom, we were doing it to glorify God, and because of that, you know, if you're doing something to glorify God, do it with excellence. So we would do our best in everything that we did, and because of that, I think when you do something with excellence and you put everything you have into it, if it's God's will, the door for something like NAYC is going to open for you. And that's a lot more on the spiritual side than the practical side.
I mean,
Martin, Landon, y'all might have something on the more practical side.
I mean, the way it works is connections, you know, on a practical standpoint. But I will say talent will always be recognized. And more so than talent, really what I feel makes someone a good person to work with and get called back time after time is if they're just consistent, and if they're good working with teams. You know, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you stress everyone out,
collaborative,
and you just make things harder on everybody, nobody's going to want to work with you. And I haven't met people like that, thankfully. I've been on great teams. But talent will always be recognized. And so whatever you're doing, if you're doing it for your local church, if you're doing it, maybe you go to a big church, you have an opportunity there. Personal projects too. I know multiple times when I was first starting and I got some of those like gigs, I was like, oh, that's so cool that I'm going to be part of that. The people would mention something that I did just as a personal project. They're like, hey, that was really cool you did that. And I wanted to connect with you. I wanted to hire you because I think you'd be a good addition to the team. So it's like if there's an opportunity for you, or if not like a big one, just create one for yourself. That's what's cool about being in the creative space. You can always just create an opportunity for yourself. And like Skylar said, just becoming the best you can be, you always get recognized.
Yeah. Yeah, and with like creating an opportunity for yourself, like some people don't have social medias that they share their own work with, and if that works for you, great. But like have a place that you can post the stuff you make. It's a portfolio. You're not bragging about yourself, or like it's not anything like that. It's just a portfolio. Have a place that you can show your work. A lot of times people aren't going to know you, like Landon said, connections. They're not going to know who you are or what you do if you don't share what you do. So share your work. Do your best, like we said, but yeah, just share your work, have somewhere to put it.
I would say the best way to get on a national team is to serve locally. And
exactly. That's how it happened for me.
Not serving locally, 10 times out of 10 you won't be looked at to serve nationally. And the reality is as somebody in the creative field, you look at these events as like, that's what I'm striving for. That's what I want to be at. That's what I want to go to. And I guess ask yourself why. Why is that what you're trying to achieve?
Exactly. That's exactly.
Is it for the clout? Is it because it's like it seems like it's the top thing? And then also like when you do get there, like then what? If your whole goal was to shoot at NAYC or to shoot at General Conference, which are the two biggest events that the UPCI has to offer for anybody that's interested in content creation, then what happens after that once you hit your goal? But if your goal is just to serve and your goal is just to change lives through the medium that God has already given you, then 100% of the time you will be chosen over the person who is striving just to be at the big event. So one thing that I've learned is I give 100% of myself in everything that I'm doing, no matter where it's at. And it might not be the biggest, it might be the smallest event that I've ever done, but who cares? My goal is to serve, and my goal is to see the message be brought forth through this medium and this talent that God's given me. And so if I serve at 100% there, then I can also serve at 100% on the other stuff.
Yeah, and
it's all good stuff.
On the getting involved locally, start with your church. At minimum, you need serve at your church. Your church needs you. Your church has something for you to do. Serve at your church. But your section, so I don't know about every district. In my district, we have sections. So serve in your section, and then if your district needs it, a lot of districts don't have people to do stuff. So I offered. Luckily I had a little bit of help, but my youth pastor was our promotions director. I just offered that I would be willing to serve. So I just started doing my state stuff, and I'm still doing that. And that was like 6 years ago. But do all of your local stuff. So go all the way up, and if you're serving in your district, things like that get recognized on a national level.
Pretty good stuff. All right, so wrap it up here. I'll let everybody go back around. Tell people where they can follow you, how they can connect with you, if they just want to connect, ask questions, business inquiries, anything like that. Y'all guys, just feel free to plug all your stuff.
Hire Unveil. Hire Unveil, and he'll hire all of us.
Unveil. Yeah, I mean, if I'm plugging anybody, unveil your story. Unveil your story. Look us up. Yeah, exactly. That's where we all work for them. Landon's got Post Up Productions, but if you need anything designed, if you need websites, if you want content strategies, we do consulting. If you just want to have someone to ask questions about anything from your live stream to how you should do social media, we'll help you there. So Unveil, that's all I have.
But also plug your own Instagram.
No, Unveil. You'll get me if you go to Unveil.
Funny.
But
Hey, I will say on the consulting side, if anybody from a small church is listening, paying a little bit of money to just talk one-on-one with guys like this is a huge deal. It can just to be able to ask questions. It's well worth any kind of money you would spend.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give you gear recommendations. We can tell you down to tutorial type stuff of how to do something, but just strategies. We really will offer that all that, and especially with that kind of stuff, Martin is an absolute genius when it comes to consulting.
I don't even really say this because I'm trying to just get more work. I genuinely enjoy it, and I remember when
he's so. I'm telling you, he's great at it.
Free consultations, but if you do want to just message me, these are the responses that you'll get. It doesn't matter who you are. This is. This
You
is the
can,
type
yeah.
of-
I just do.
I don't know about Landon, but I do that too, man. Like, if we're passionate about this, we're passionate about this stuff. This is what we love doing. So we are happy to answer questions. You're just asking us about the stuff that we're passionate about. So I'll answer more questions than you even asked. So feel free to reach out to any of us, even if you don't want to hop on a Zoom call and have a formal consultation. You can DM Unveil, you can DM myself, you can DM Martin.
My name is Martin Libby. You can follow me at Soul Libby or Unveil Your Story.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, my tag is at SH Design Company.
Yeah, you can
Spell that how it's
you can
spelled.
find me at LJ Gaddy or
spell
at
everything out.
postup.production.
So, man, I appreciate you guys being on here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week and listening to this episode. Go follow these guys, connect with them, and just keep building the kingdom. That's what it's all about. That's why I love talking to you guys,
Absolutely,
this conversation.
absolutely.
Every one of y'all have just talked about, like, man, we're in it for the kingdom. We're in it to help people. We're in it to reach people.
You got to be.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, this is it. We will see you guys on our next episode.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
See you guys.